Welcome to Go All the Way, a place to celebrate courage, energy, and heart. From possibility to reality, let's look at some of the clues to a life where we go all the way. Here's your host, Michy Lemay, ready to dream big and enjoy the journey with you.
Well, hello there. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is my first episode of the new podcast called Go All the Way, which is inspired by a YouTube video, which I'll put in the link of this around, if you're going to go all the way. And there's something to be said for when it's hard. When it's hard, you're in, I'm trying to think. Seth Godin calls it the dip. So, it's when and how do we persevere when things are hard? And I just love the nitty gritty details of what it looks like for people when they're in those spaces. So that's what, I think I called it, Go All the Way, celebrating courage, heart, and energy, because that's what it takes to do things that are beyond yourself. And there are moments that I don't think, I'm sure they're celebrated in all kinds of places, but for me personally, I love seeing this in people I know and having a chance to bring that to other people that I know. So thanks for tuning in. My name's Michy Lemay. You can check my about who I am on michylemay.com. And today, my first episode, I'm going to celebrate and focus the mic on my sister, Michy Lemay. She also goes by Michy. What a treat to have this time. My sister completely inspires me all the time. But this particular story you're going to hear is about a biking challenge she set for herself. And for like a quick synopsis, in the sense that she told me yesterday that it was like running a marathon every day for 4 straight days. It was a really hard, each day took her about 9 hours of commitment and movement in the woods on a bike. So it was something very hard for her. But in general, I think that this story about my sister celebrates vitality, her concept around self-care, and an invitation to give yourself self-care, and what does that even mean. This chat talks a little bit about data and how you can use data to inspire you to go all the way. And if you never set personal goals, you can never achieve them. So Michy talks a little bit about being an adult, and how, it's not like super common, unless in a workplace maybe, that just people set goals. And Mish and I have both been, we're into goal setting, taking time for yourself, taking time to do these goals. And my sister, with her, time for her is a non-negotiable. Like, she's gotten to the place in her world that she really, really deeply knows that the commitment she gives to herself allows her to be able to be there in a better way for others. And this is not just a talk with my sister. It's very real how her capacity is to serve and be available for young people, for her family, for her friends, for her siblings. Like, she's really something special. So with that, I hope you enjoy our first inaugural podcast for Go All the Way. I get a little verklempt in here, of course, because I'm talking about my sister and some of her recent trials, but it's a longer podcast. So I would say, put on your sneakers, pause me right now, and get ready to go for a walk. So while you listen, get some movement and nature. That would both celebrate nature and movement, which is like two of my sister's favorite things, as she's going to talk about. So you will feel like we're walking along with you. And if you're inspired after this, don't hesitate to send me an email or send me a text, something I can share with Michy about how her words and her story is hitting you. Because personally, it had a big effect on me, and very grateful. Okay, all right, with that, let's get going to Go All the Way. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. It's Kate Lemay here, and I am here with a special guest who is also my sister, who I love very much. And I recently, Michy, well, her name is Michy Lemay. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second. But I just, for a little context of why we're here, is that Michy continually does amazing things. That's one thing about my sister that I'm constantly like, oh, you did that over the weekend, you know. But she recently did something that was big to her, um, and I think would be very inspiring for other people to hear about. And so, with that, in the vein of me taking time to record stories with people I love that do inspiring things, Michy said yes first. So we're really excited that you could be here today, Michy. And do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell people maybe that don't know you a little bit about who you are and like where are you right now, what you up to?
Sure. So thanks, Kate, for asking me to be one of your guest speakers. So excited about that. And let's just first and foremost say how much you inspire me. And I'm so excited for this next journey for you, the 7 retreat journey that you're about to start. So if anyone is listening to this and is inquiring or thinking about and being involved in one of those or attending one of those, I would highly encourage it. Jump right in, dive in, plunge in, whatever, cannonball in, get into it. It's going to be a healing, amazing space for you. So I'll just say that first and foremost. But my name is Michy Lemay, and everyone calls me Michy, but my real full name is Micheline, and my father was a tire salesman, and that's how I got my name. And whenever I tell that story, people laugh and think that it's not true, but it actually is true. So it has a really special meaning behind it. And I guess I will just say that I spend my life in motion, and my favorite things to do are to be active and engaged with nature, and soaking it all in and the beautiful healing properties of it, but also kind of pushing my physical boundaries. My main favorite things to do are mountain biking and skiing and touring, backcountry skiing. So I love that, and I'm so fortunate that my jobs are those things. And if you're listening to this, you're probably on the path of discovering, but as we know, these are not by fault. We sort of navigate our lives, and Kate and I have both been so fortunate to be given the gift from our parents to do what we love to do and not falter, and know that it's the right thing and not try to check any boxes of what life should be, but what we want our life to be. And so me and my sister all the time talk about how fortunate we are that we had these parents that gave us this gift of looking at life in this way. So for my jobs, I run the junior ski racing program at the Mount Mansfield Ski Club. So I interface with hundreds of kids in a winter and help them become better ski racers. But what I really truly care about is also helping them become better people and be respectful and safe and learn a skill that will help them in every area of their life. And in the summers, I own and run my own summer adventure camp, which includes mountain biking, swimming, hiking. Again, sort of like, I don't even know how it's possible, but doing all the things I love in nature, getting them excited about being active in nature. And, I think the most important piece of this is getting the opportunity to help children discover this and hope that it becomes something in their life that brings them adventure, peace, joy, you name it. So I feel super fortunate. And right now I'm in Colorado, at a ski camp with one of my groups, the U12 group. So the 10 and 11-year-olds, I have 10 athletes out here. And I used to live here, so it's even more special to kind of reconnect with this space, and be in the places that I used to be, but also again now with the children and sharing some of those gifts. And, even yesterday I would just like have the kids stop and look around and see where they were. And, we're on 12,000 feet and we're looking out at these vast mountain ranges with snow peaks, and it was bright sun and the snow was just absolutely perfect, to be learning some skill sets on. Yeah, it's a very special place. So lucky that I get to come back here every fall and do that. But why I'm here today is to share a story. Me and my sister, we have all these funny synchronicities where we'll all of a sudden like won't talk for like a month, and then all of a sudden it's like something crazy happened that we like get excited to share with each other. And I had read one of her emails yesterday about persistence and being persistent with something and following through and finishing. And like, I was like thinking I had just finished this bike quest, which that's what we'll be sharing about. But then she calls me like in the instant that I'm reading this thing about persistence. And I had just done this like quest that was like ultimate persistence. And we were both just like, this is crazy. And then we came up with the idea to share the story. So the story that is going to be shared today is about this bike quest that I just finished. And it was probably one of the most challenging physical endeavors that I have ever taken upon myself. It was all for myself. There was no like event or race or reason other than for me to try to accomplish biking 2,000 single track mountain bike miles in a biking season, which, it usually starts around mid-April, and it ended just last week because here I am in Colorado and now it's snowing back home. So I'm very glad I executed the task. But when I sort of got this idea to execute the goal, I was pretty far away from being able to do it. In fact, I was even like, I don't know if I can do this. And I love biking and I would bike as much as I possibly can in a day. But even within the actual waking light hours, I didn't know if I could finish the task. My job had gotten super busy. I also work at the ski academy where I coach, doing social, emotional, and mindfulness curriculum with the students. And there was a lot of things that had surfaced socially, emotionally, and behaviorally the week before they were going to Colorado. And I had to take all my waking hours into helping sort through some of those things as opposed to trying to continue to chip away at this physical goal of mine. And so I was with 226 miles to ride in 4 days. And the stars aligned just perfectly where my husband and my two children headed off to Colorado for their camp, which started a little earlier. And I had 4 Michy days. Those are days that I can do whatever I want. And it was a beautiful, sunny November days, which again, how does that ever happen? So in the 60s, that I had to execute this task. So I said, you know what? If there's any opportunity to do this, it's going to be now. So I have never biked more than 53 single track miles in a day in my life before. And here I was faced with the challenge of trying to ride. Well, I had 5 days, so 45 miles I would have to ride every day in order to accomplish it. But I knew on day 5 that there was some weather coming in. So when I set out on Friday to ride my 45, I said to myself, okay, you got to ride as far as you can and as long as you can. So I hopped on my bike, I got all my fuel prepared, and off I went. And I rode and I rode and I rode and I rode. And, it was long. I was near 50, and I just said to myself, you got to try to go as much as you can. You got to go more. So, I continued to fuel and I rode until the very end of the day where it started to get dark, and I accomplished 61 miles in that amount of time. So it was about a 9-hour ride. When I finished, my wrists were like screaming. The right where the base of your neck connects to your back area there by your shoulders was so tight. It was insane, but it was amazing. I loved every minute of it. So I put my bike on the rack and I headed to the store and I got all the things, because you start to get to a point where you're just like, all you're doing is dreaming about what you want to eat. So I had in my mind what I wanted to eat, and I went and collected all the belongings, which was gluten-free macaroni and cheese, orange, um, Applegate turkey hot dogs, and broccoli. So I had to go to 3 different stores to get the exact ingredients. Went home, made all the food. It was pitch black, ate it all, took a big tub, Epsom salt tub, and went to bed. And I was, as soon as I laid down, I could just feel my whole entire body like buzzing with energy. But I knew that I had another big day ahead of me. So went to sleep, woke up a little bit later than I wanted to, but I knew that I needed it. Like I woke up at 5 and I was like, oh, I'm really still very sore. And then I fell back asleep, and then I woke up at 7 and I couldn't believe how much better I felt when I woke up at 7. But ate a big breakfast, got my things together, took some Advil, and off I went. And again, I didn't really know like what I was going to do, but I was just going as far as I could. And it's pretty crazy. Around every day around mile 25 to 30, that was when I feel like I had my biggest block. Like I was like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Like, this is really hard. And around that time again, I was like, I really don't have to do more than 45, but if I do more than 45, this will really help in the end, in not have the stress on the bad weather day. So I just kept going and going and going and going. And as I came back, so there's like 2 huge areas in Stowe, and they're kind of far away from each other. It's about 5 miles distance between like the 2 networks, but the single track brings you there. And on that second day, I came back and I knew it was getting dark. So I just like stayed close to the van and circulated on the single track closer to where I would need to go, because it was so dark. And um, I just got to the point where I was like, I will get to 60. Like, I don't care what it takes. So then I came back down again, 61. So here I was at 2 days of my longest riding ever, and put my bike back on the van and headed home, had all my supplies for dinner, and did the same thing all over again. Woke up on the 3rd day, and it was actually crazy. I actually felt better than I had the morning before. I I do think some of that equated to not pushing myself as hard on some of the uphills, or you get to the point where like anything with technicality, like roots, or anything that jostles you, just makes you so much more tired. So I was pretty strategic around um, some of my riding, just to not exhaust my body, but I actually felt pretty good. So I got up even earlier this day, and there had been a time change. So, the light was going to come up an hour earlier. So I got up at like 6, got all ready, headed down to the trail, and started riding at 7 a.m. And um, I felt pretty good. I felt great. And I rode all day. Again, you start to hit the wall around mile 30. Um, but I ran into some random people and got some, climbs in with people, and were able to talk. It sort of helped distract the time. And I would just run into different people, and sort of they would be like, are you still out here? Or like, what are you doing? And I would sort of quickly share the story, because it's amazing how much time gets wasted just by stopping and talking, or if like, in Stowe, the downhill rider has the right of way. So on Saturday, because of the weather, it was so beautiful that I had to stop so much, and I couldn't believe how much time that had taken away from the riding. Like, people want to talk, and obviously it's like joyful to have conversation and connection, but it was crazy just like strategically wise how much that would take away from my riding time. But I got systems in place and bathroom spots and water filling station spots and um, places where different points on the trail where I could stop and like grab a sip of water or have a shot block or eat a piece of a bar or something. And fueling yourself for this is also like a very challenging thing, um, which I was psyched that I stayed moving. Like all of a sudden things can seize up, and I just got lucky. Like I just did it the right way. I don't know how I did, but I did. And on that Sunday too, I had some of my fastest. I get really like excited about my times on different segments on Strava. And I had some of my fastest downhills ever of the season, which I was pretty psyched about, especially being so tired. Obviously, my uphills were like, there's no chance I was going to beat some of my times, but on the downhills, like I had a 5 mile downhill segment that I have been working towards all year to try to get. And that's really hard because you have to stop if you encounter someone. So like that can really affect your time, especially for such a long distance. Um, but I just got really lucky and I just kept going. Like I didn't encounter anyone. And I ended up getting my fastest time ever on a couple of really big long descents, which was pretty sweet. Um, and then I finished up that Sunday, in the dark again and got to 62 miles. So here I was like 41 away from my goal. And for 3 days in a row, rode over 60 miles of single track day after day after day. Longest ever riding of my life, which that was pretty sweet. Um, and then I had a birthday party for a friend that night right at the restaurant that I parked, which was just so convenient. So that was fun to sort of like celebrate with them a little bit and have some good food that I didn't have to cook, and then headed home and knew that I had 41 miles left to go, but I had 2 days if I needed it. I woke up Monday, I was pretty tired, but I knew I could finish the 41, but this was definitely my most challenging day mentally and physically. I was totally gassed, and it was almost like I had allowed myself to let down the blinders. Like I was like, I'm like, oh, it's just 41, but like 41 single track miles still takes a very long time. So the 360s were like around 9 to 9.5 hours of riding, and um, the 41 miles took me about 6 to 6.5. But when I got to mile 30 again, I was just like, I was on the verge of crying almost the whole last 10 miles. And a friend of mine was trying to meet up with me. And I just was like, I just didn't even have the energetic output to like plan it and like make it happen. And I knew if I saw somebody that I knew, I would like let down my guard and just start bawling and be like, why am I doing this? Or how am I doing? How can I finish this? So I did end up running into her, and she was such a great friend. She was like, "You don't have to do this, Michy. Like, you chose to do this. Like, don't be mad." And she was totally right. And I kind of needed that tough love in that exact moment. So she rode a couple of miles with me and then sort of let me finish my execution. But um, I guess there is one other piece of this story that I haven't shared yet, or I guess two pieces, but you know, beyond my fact of loving physical activity so much, I have had some struggle in my life around injury. And, not to drag the story out, but I've had to have 5 knee surgeries and 3 of those full ACL reconstructions, which, if anyone's gone through that, knows that that takes up about a year of your recovery to be back to kind of who you were before that. And then I have a recurrent shoulder dislocation that I'm now on shoulder dislocation number 14. We're hoping it stops there, but I've needed to have surgery for a couple of years now that I keep postponing, more for the fact that I just can't even imagine not riding or skiing um, for an extended period of time. Just mentally, I'm just not there yet to do it. But it just, if I fall the wrong way or even walking and fall the wrong way on it, it just comes out and it's a pain. But the past year, I've also gone through, or a year and a half, through systemic cancer treatment for breast cancer. And so this quest was, and I guess I would like to add that I never stopped biking or skiing during all of my systemic treatment. In fact, last year I got to almost like 1,500 single track miles while going through 4 months of chemo, which is, pretty insane. But like biking was absolutely my healing modality of like feeling like myself and feeling like I wasn't losing who I was through the process. And my sister knows during my like last chemo session, she came with me and I was like, I feel like I'm losing my vitality. Like it like sucks away that like energy and sort of strength. And, when you go through chemo, it also kills your reproductive system. So I was pretty young to lose my period. And like when you lose your hormone, like drive, like it's just like it's insane how it like sort of like changes your body and your mentality. And I like refused to let that happen, even if it is happening like in my physicality. I just mentally was not gonna let that change. So when I got my last chemo session, I told myself I was gonna ride my bike every single day. I called it the Sweaty Baldy Yule Chemo Bike Challenge. And I did. I rode my bike every single day. And if anyone's gone through chemo, on like day 4 or 5, like it's really bad. Like your brain is just like swimming in a pool of nastiness. Like you just don't feel normal and you're like off balance. And I still, like, I almost didn't even know if I could drive down to the trailhead, but I did. And I still biked. And I actually felt better biking. Like you almost feel like you can't do it. Like the first 3 rounds I didn't because I was worried that I would fall and stuff. And it was insane. Like I actually felt better. I could bike, like I felt normal when I was biking. It was so weird. I mean, maybe before and after I didn't, but during I did. So if anyone ever has to go through it, like know that you can still execute some of those things that you love. Um, don't let it, don't let it tell you that you have to stop. So this summer, it'd been a year since my systemic treatment for the most part, and I went through the whole year doing a clinical trial, and I just like had this extreme determination and persistence to execute this task. And this quest like it proved to me so many things. It proved to me my strength of my mental fortitude and just like determination and grit. It proved my physical strength and that vitality that I could now do something like that I never even would dream of doing before. I mean, I like love these type of quests, but this was like other level quest. This was almost like an unfathomable quest, but I was like, I know I can do it, and I did it. So it just really helped prove to myself that I like had all of these qualities of myself that I feel so true to still in me. And in fact, like I don't even know if I would have had the determination and grit and strength to do this without going through what I went through, because I just probably would have thought like, why would I want to do that? But it was like insane. And of course, like having the time, I mean, I'm way into mindfulness. I'm way into all different modalities behind it. But I know for me, my most mindful time is when I'm out in nature by myself and like moving and breathing and being just like enclosed in it. And mountain biking is just like single track mountain biking. That's like all that it is. And you just have to be super present and like focused and aware. And I mean, I just had 37 hours of Michy mindfulness time. And, you know, how much did that help me process my past year and a half? And life in general was just insane. You know, like here I am, you know, I work real hard when I have to work. I still do very much value self-care and I will refuse to give that up. So I do get a fair amount of that. Um, but I had this time to myself to like execute this and move through a lot of emotion and processing what I've been through and you know and each one of these days when I finished it was just this like incredible sense of accomplishment and like pride that I can still do this and on a level that I've actually never done it before. I mean, I was a collegiate athlete, but this was just a totally different quest. You know, it's like I always say, "Oh, my Michy mindful mission or the Michy mission." This was further than a mission. This was a quest. So you know, there was very little, you know, I didn't really share this with anyone. I was like my own thing. I wasn't looking for anything, you know, any kind of accolade of any sort. It was just like I wanted to get to this goal and come hell or high water, I was going to do it. So it was awesome. And, you know, I was like telling Kate the story the other day, and she was just like, oh my gosh, can you please share it with me? So here I am sharing the bike quest of 2022. And I guess what's going to be next? I don't know. Like, you know, I did think a lot about like, will I have this level of determination? Again, like, you know, like, I don't know. But I do know that I did it and I'm pretty stoked about it. And you know, one of the things that I love about Strava is it really, you know, it keeps track of all of your mileage and your output. And, you know, I'm really into, I also wear a Whoop and a Garmin. Like, I'm so into, like, I love data and facts and like times. And like, I mean, it's like sort of obviously like I was a competitive athlete. There's like a part of me inside me and I work with all these little athletes. Like, of course, I like want them to have this whole experience and be a whole child and be respectful and kind and safe, but like I'm a competitive individual and it's hard when you get older and you lose the outlets for that. But like, you know, I know there's a lot of Strava naysayers out there, but for those of us that love data and like pushing ourselves and having a platform to have that competitive edge or like feeling, it's a really, really, really fun tool. You just have to keep yourself in check. That you don't try to go too fast and get hurt or something. You know, it's like it's a little bit of a dance. But yeah, it was really something else. And I'm so grateful that I had the vitality and strength and determination and health to do it. So that's my quest.
Thanks, Mish. I many times during your talk I started to cry
Oh,
because I'm just so proud of you. You know, I love you
thank you.
so much. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. So I'm taking you're proud of yourself right now. You know, you did something hard
Yep.
for you, like for no one
Yep.
else. You know, it was for you. And I took a couple notes if that's okay while you were talking.
Of course.
Um, one is could you tell people how old are you?
Yes, I'm 44 years old.
Yeah, and I'm 46, so we're 2 years apart. Um, you shared a bit that you did recently go through breast cancer, which, you know, as your sister was so hard to in the beginning. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, what's going to happen?" But like you actually gave me a new look at it
like I just was really, really proud of you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I think that I have some questions for you, but I just wanted to first acknowledge our awesome parents,
Yeah.
which you did at the beginning, but like Lala and Bumpa, Lauren and Greg, are great parents.
Yeah.
So I say this thing that when your heart is open, water will come out of your face. And I think this is probably why I don't make things like this with people I love so much, because I'm a wicked leaker. Like if my heart gets really open, I just almost can't speak. So I'm just gonna take a second and breathe
Yeah.
here. And just, Michy has this effect on me for sure. She is one of the people I love the most in the world. Um, okay, I want to also just mention that your summer camp is called Rugged Adventures, and it's a killer camp that, we both run camps, which is so strange, except that yours, you do for yourself. It's your own company. I work for another company. You also are the owner and operator of Michy's Mindfulness Mission, which she mentioned a few times about her mindfulness, but the beginning you started, you were like, I'm a person who loves to be in motion. And I think that is, yes, undoubtedly true. Like if I'm out with like if we go anywhere together, we probably get in like 9 walks in like 3 days. Like any time. It's like, oh, we have some downtime. Missy's like, want to go for a walk? So I just know that if I'm hanging out with my sister, I'm probably going to walk like 28 miles in a day, every day. Which I love. But it is just a comical thing about Michy. Okay, so couple things, Mish. Uh, why do you think you did this? Like you said, was it to prove your vitality to yourself, or like, oh, you know what? Actually, here's my first question. What sparked this? Like, I know you told me about this guy who like mentioned something and it was like, do you think that was probably like, how did it lead up to the thing that you're like, I'm gonna do this?
Yeah, I mean, so I have this friend named Carl Lipsky. He's a total savage. He's a crazy skinner and biker, and he always like sets these personal goals for himself. So last winter he had set this like personal goal for how much climbing he could do skinning, and I wish I knew. I think it was 100,000 feet is how much he climbed last winter. And when I saw that he had done that, I was like, oh my man, like, and that's what Strava does. It keeps track of all of your like
Yes.
facts and data. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And of course I was like, I think I got to like 110 skins or something, but I didn't like set a goal for myself. And so he doesn't mountain bike a ton. He's more of a gravel biker, road biker, but like we sort of like on Strava like comment to each other about like hitting goals or like breaking records or whatever. And as we were coming near the end of the season, I was like, gosh, like I should see where I'm at. And so I looked and I saw that I was like, this was like a month ago. I was like 1,500 miles in, and I'm like, I know I can get to 2,000. Like I know I can, and I always ride a lot anyways. It's just what I do because I love it. And then 3 weeks before the end of the season, I was like, 2,000 miles is attainable. Like I can do this. And obviously the whole thing with the work getting work
Yeah.
getting in the way of my riding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we have to work, like like we have
Yeah.
these
It's a
responsibilities,
balance.
right? And I have 2 kids, and like I mean it's hard. Like of course if I had unlimited time it would be no problem, but I didn't. So then we know this quest was sort of like, I have 5 days to do this. And I saw the days closing in, like, but I knew I had these 5 days without my family. And obviously, I hoped that the weather. So when I saw that the weather was going to cooperate, I knew I just had to go for it. But there was a pretty high possibility that I wouldn't have been able to finish it. And I hate when I can't finish
I know.
what I start.
So
So
sorry, what's the guy's name again, Mish?
Carl Lipsky.
Oh, so Carl, I just want to share that, like, Carl sparked an awareness in you, and Strava is a great tool that I study a lot of Brendan Bouchard's high performance coaching. And so he coaches presidents, Olympians, blah, blah, blah. But he talks about how if you really want to get better at stuff, you got to measure your stuff. And Michy was like, follow me on Strava. But I don't Strava. I paid for a year to watch my sister on Strava. But I'm like, it just, I think it's fantastic. And I think that, hopefully what I want to ground on this is it wasn't like a monumentous trumpet. You didn't pay $5,000 to have a coach tell you to be inspired. You got this dude just by him living out loud on Strava, meaning recorded. He got you to just be just a tick more aware of your own metrics to where you saw something possible for you, and you got in 4 straight Michy days. And we all know what those days are when we think about our days. Like for me, I would be 18 paintings. There are max days of full us where we
Yeah.
push ourselves to extreme and things we love. So I love that Carl was your spark.
And then I think I also just
yeah.
want to share, like, on one of my posts, I had hashtag, like, you need to set the goals to achieve them. And I think as we get older, and I also was doing goal setting with the kids all week
Yes. Oh
before,
my gosh, that's so
right?
great.
But it's like we as adults, we just feel like we don't have to set these goals anymore. We're just kind of like, and it's understood, we're like super busy just living life and taking care of our kids and working, or we have animals. Like there's just like so many responsibilities. Like how are we going to have time to set and execute this like almost seemingly selfish goal, right? But what I hope people take away from this is like, it's awesome to set goals for yourself and try to achieve them. It's like so motivating, right? And secondly, like the importance of self-care. Like it's so easy to say that we don't have the time. It's so easy. And in fact, it almost feels better because we feel selfish if we take time for ourselves. But what I always say to anyone that like points out like, "Oh my gosh, good for you for going skinning at 5 a.m. every morning and like maybe potentially missing making my kids breakfast, but I just leave cereal on the counter," or like, they're getting old enough now that I can do that, right? But if you take care of yourself, you're a better everything else. Everything. You're a better employee, you're a better mom, you're a better wife, you're a better friend, you're a better you. Like it's like insane. And I just so wish if someone said like if there was like a doctor that Dr. Fauci that went on the news and said, if you give yourself 30 minutes a day to do what you want to do. And I'm just going to throw out there that like physical activity like checks all the boxes. And I know that that's not the case for like not everyone can do that. But like if you can, getting outdoors in nature, like literally will check every single box. Even if you're in the city, go to the park. Everything will be better in your life. Every single thing. And as we know, nature heals ourselves too.
I love it. Mish, do you have any parting advice or words or thoughts you would want to share? I know, so you mentioned at the beginning that the retreats, and I am trying to wrangle you to be a keynote speaker or a workshop presenter or both at some point. I'm trying to get her to go to 3 team, but you could help me make that happen if you shout for Michy and some of her friends come. I think make it worth her to travel. But we're looking at the spots between her summer camp and ski season, as long as she's not having shoulders. Well, actually, you could probably still come talk if you have shoulder surgery, and it might force you to sit down long enough to write your book or whatever you want to do. But I was thinking about you for the words energy, body, and heart, Michy. The heart is in June. Energy is at the end of September, early October, and body is in like little mid October. do you have any parting thoughts? I think you nailed it with the working out, being physically in motion outdoors is like it's an everything box connector. Is there any other thoughts you would leave folks with before we let you go back to your life today?
I mean, I guess I would say what you are giving to this world is an invitation to step away and have, so like that, my whole soapbox on the self-care, like these are what my sister is doing, which I am so proud of her. And I mean, this has been a lifelong goal of hers, and she is executing it. And you will be so lucky if you partake in one of these, or all of these, or half of these. This is an invitation to take time for yourself and rediscover things. Take time to be quiet and present. Open your mind to some of these different modalities around healing and health. I would highly encourage you to sign up. Where can they find your info? I'm sure that whoever's going to receive this knows already, but
Yeah, KateLemay.com, and then they just click on the retreats. And I was thinking, Mish, just like if you can go, I know that like sitting around all day would probably kill you. So what I'm gonna probably say that Michy will probably offer something where you can move your body with her. Not like, and I mean, yoga is moving your body, but like probably with accomplishing some distance, maybe even some biking if it was available. These are great camps that probably have some sweet, sweet savage trails. I just want to also say how much I love how my sister talks about like words that are, she is like really like this, people. Like it's, the word sweet and savage, like that's in her vocabulary in a way that I always say to my kids how they know how cool their Aunt Michy is, but she is really like the coolest one of the coolest people I know. So thanks, Mish. I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for saying yes to making this recording to inspire others, because the post you did, I knew it was a big deal to you, but I was like, what is she talking about? And, most of us are not in the single track bike world, right? Like, but for those that are, you are going to be really impressed with my sister. If you don't know that at all, I think the deeper story helps to put some context in it around this, being a person who seeks growth by demand of choice, not by demand of the pressure of regular life. So some of us are in real demand. A child is sick, you themselves are sick, but making the choice, like I'm going to pick a goal on my own. I think when your friend saw you in the woods and she was sort of giving you that tough love, one of Brendan's phrases he always says is honor the struggle. Like it shows us that in that moment we are like, oh, I can't do it, even though we chose it. It's like, that's the place where you get that extra oomph to keep going. And I think the kids that you work with are so lucky to have you, Mish. We are lucky to have you as your family, and I know how loved you are by your community and friends. And anywho, thanks for saying yes to getting this recording done.
thank you so much, Kate. That was really fun.
Okay. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. There we go.
Thank you for listening. We hope this chat inspired you today. Let us know what resonated with you. Email kate@katelemay.com. Want more? Consider joining us on the road this year at the Dream Big and Enjoy the Journey Tour. Details can be found at www.katelemay.com. That's Kate, Lemay.com.